Welcome back to Adventures in Painting. I've already started the rocks on this side, and I'm going to be doing this one on the right hand side today. I'm going to just do a little bit more highlighting. Now this time we're using the palette knives. So this is a brand new technique that even my regular students have not seen. And so all you have to do is just skim the top. Very, very lightly. It also helps sometimes to let the paint dry and then come back to it. But you can see how it's go on very smoothly. Just different tones. I'm using burnt sienna, burnt umber, Indian yellow, and buff and white, and maybe a little bit of Payne's gray. So I need that one a little bit lighter. That's a little dark. And then you want to break up the pattern, so you don't want an even pattern. And as I said, with highlights, it can sometimes be easier to let the paint dry, because then the highlights will just kind of skip over the top of it. Okay, we're going to let that dry, and I'll come back and highlight it even more later. So what we're going to do is come over to the other side, and I'll show you how it gets started. So all we're going to do is to take some burnt sienna and burnt umber, a little bit of blue because this is in the background. Mix that together. Lighten it up a little bit with some white. It doesn't have to be mixed well. Matter of fact, it's better if it is not mixed well. I'm going to add a little bit of Payne's gray to gray it out. Come back with the white to lighten it up. Okay, oops. And don't stick your fingers in the paint like I just did. It's messy. Okay. So you just get some knife, get some paint on the brush, on the knife, and then I've already sketched it out. That would be on the earlier part of the video. And you're just going to come down here. Now right here is a flat spot. Going to be a little bit lighter right in that area. So we're just going to, and I have two, as I said earlier, I have two knives. One has a small edge like this, or the longer edge, and the other is kind of an in-between. I'm going to be getting more knives as I develop this technique. So we're going to kind of follow what we have done. Doesn't have to be precise, just clean. Okay, let's come in with this one. This one's got a little bit more red in it. This one's a little bit in the farther distance, so you want it to stand out a little bit. Also, you want to stand it out against the clouds. Sometimes when I'm concentrating, I'll forget to talk. That might be a good thing. Okay. Now we're going to come down here with this mountain. You can see how the paint breaks against the canvas. You can see how when I mixed the paint I left it marbled. You can see how already that's beginning to show character into the rocks. And then you have to pull it down. So when you put the trees in, the mountains will be in the background of behind the trees. Just like on the other side, rotate the knife around so it's not always in the same direction. This is, you can see where I'm having a little bit of trouble getting it in to the canvas because I'm not using enough paint. So, take care of that, mix up another batch. Again, this method takes a lot of paint. And as I said, I like it when you don't have all the paint mixed. It's more marbled and it goes on in variations. And that's very good. So you can see a little bit of white here, a little striping, variation, marbling. And don't be shy about trying to mix it all together because one rock is going to be looking totally different than another rock. I'm just pulling the paint down. Almost there here. We had to change positions with the camera because when I went to view the other photograph, unfortunately the light coming in from the window was reflecting on the glass. Now I like how this is. Now this needs to be lightened up a little bit.
That's nice.
This is where the sun's coming in. So see, I see a little crevice here, so you just lighten it up. There's a little one. Comes down this way. A little highlight right there. Just kind of pull it around. Now that needs to be lightened up because the edge is going to catch some white. And then the mountain just drags down here. Yeah, we're going to kind of make that a little bit of a ledge right there. tone this down a little bit. We'll put a little bit of paint off. Put some highlights into it. Just kind of vary it, because it'll take its own form. But the question, big thing is, you do not want to overdo the blending, because you'll lose it.
So less is more.
Less is more, and you need to keep an eye on what you're doing. After every time you make a stop, look at it, because if you might have that perfect stroke, and if you're not paying attention, you lose it. And I've seen my students do that more times than not. I tell them to stop, and I'm not quite fast enough, or they're not quite fast enough. So now I'm going to come back here, because I like this color a little bit better than I do this. So I'm going to come back here and add a little bit more red to it. And then that should be just about the end of today. Yeah, I like the little brighter colors. And then I think I'll come back in and maybe put some darks into it. Okay, and now we're just going to come in with some Payne's Gray. You can mix it with your brown and blue. Excuse me. Excuse me. Okay.
Cut.
Cut. Okay, now so we can just come back in here with a little bit of darks. You need variation. That's is critical. Now this one back here is a little bit farther back, so we're not going to put that much into it.
Right, you're at 12 minutes.
Okay. I'll go ahead and keep highlighting, and then I'll take a photograph of this and include it into the final composition. So until then, I'll see you on the next step. Well, this wraps up the third part of this painting, of Painting Yosemite. It was the rocks by palette knife. It's a new technique for me, so I hope it comes across fairly well to the videos. Meanwhile, I will see you on the next section on part 4. We're going to be putting in the foreground, some trees and etc. and a river. So anyway, we'll see what happens. See you on part 4. Good night and goodbye.